The year was 1925. Walter Chrysler founded the Chrysler Company. You could buy a brand new house for $7,809, and life expectancy was 54.1 years. Some famous people were born in 1925. Johnny Carson, Jack Lemmon, Paul Newman, Sammy Davis Jr., and oh yes, James A.D. Geier, CEO of one of the best-known companies in Cincinnati and the world, Cincinnati Millicron. Jim Geier was born in Cincinnati, served in the United States Army Air Corps, studied at Williams College, and joined Cincinnati Milling Machine in 1951. Even though the mill was founded by his grandfather and run by his father, Jim began working in the apprentice school so he could learn the business from the ground up. In one of his last interviews, Jim looked back at his Millicron beginnings.
I went through all of the departments. I was down in the foundry, I went through assembly, I went through machining, and I just became more and more fascinated, and it became very obvious to me, this is where I really wanted to be.
After spending 19 years in various departments, Jim became the third Geier to lead the company when he became CEO in 1970, a year which saw Cincinnati Milling Machine change its name to Cincinnati Millicron.
He was always a person who reached out to the people, knew all the employees, and the person you never called Mr. Geier was always Jim.
He was just incredibly curious, persistent, tolerant, and inclusive of others. He collaborated, he kept reaching out to young people and to leaders alike, and people just seemed to want to join in with him on the things he was doing.
We were primarily a machine tool company, but under his leadership, we branched out into many new areas.
Jim loved change. He embraced it, and he loved new ideas. He loved new technologies. He led us into many technologies: industrial robots, laser technology, coordinate measuring machines, semiconductor materials. And he led us into plastics technology, and today we are known throughout the entire world as the leader in plastics technologies.
To build these marvelous machines and to create things that didn't exist before and to invent equipment and processes, the likes of which man had never seen.
And I think a lot of his confidence came from the fact that the company had a reputation that was greater than, say, its capitalization. And that was because of its research and development effort and the fact that it shipped all over the world. And I think that gave him a great sense of pride.
Millicron's reputation as an innovator opened up many opportunities for Jim to serve on various presidential councils and to participate in important government meetings. It was all part of Jim's legacy to find a better way.
And it was find a better way to manufacture a product, find a better way to take care of your employees, find a better way to make this a good place to work.
Jim had an incredible curiosity. In his off hours, whatever they were, he was working with airplanes and boats, trains, and ultimately he built a model train railway around his home, which was kind of a celebrated bit of fun for a lot of his friends and our family.
Throughout his 40-year career, Jim was an incredible advocate of research and development, fueled by the company's history with the University of Cincinnati that went back to 1906, when the mill hired its first co-op student.
Work with the University of Cincinnati, I think, was definitely what he considered as necessary time for, the cultivation of good resource in the city and benefiting the companies that would make use of that.
But it may be Jim's work for the greater Cincinnati community that best defines his legacy. Like his father and grandfather before him, Jim Geier dedicated himself to countless volunteer efforts: the Chamber of Commerce, the Red Cross, the Cincinnati Business Committee, the Children's Home of Cincinnati, 16 years as president of the Cincinnati Museum of Natural History, 18 years on the Hamilton County Park Commission, and 30 years with United Way Community Chest, where Jim chaired the 1991 fundraising drive that raised a then-record $43.4 million.
He reached out to young people substantially. He wanted to know what they were up to, what their ideas were.
I've always thought the junior achievement was just great because it was a path that young people could begin to learn, and it made young people grow, and it was almost priceless from that standpoint.
Jim was a family man who loved his children and made a point of talking with and helping his nieces and nephews. On his 70th birthday, friends, family, and the old-timers wrote notes, sent cards, and celebrated the life of the man they so loved. Jim Geier died this past year at 75 while racing his sailboat, the Mantelpiece. It was one of his favorite pastimes.
This summer, some of his friends, and myself included, went back and sailed in the race that he had his medical trauma in. And we won the race in his boat with his sailing buddies.
Well, I think anybody who knew Jim knew he had a heart as big as the world. He was a man who cared a lot about his company, a man who cared a lot about his friends, a man who cared deeply about the community, and we're all better for it.
Junior Achievement is proud to welcome Jim Geier into the Business Hall of Fame.